are your relationships today? Personal, professional. Could they be better? Welcome to Talk Time with Trish, with host Trish Forante and co-host Lisa Stewart. There are so many variables that affect our lives. What makes the difference in our lives is genuine communication. Now, here are your hosts, Trish Forante and Lisa Stewart.
Hi, this is Trish Forante, and welcome to Talk Time with Trish. Our show is about improving communication for both men and women. Today, we are going to talk about the notion that you can't have a peaceful divorce unless everyone is talking. Isn't that an interesting topic? Our guest today is John Mulhall, marriage and family law attorney and co-founder of the Peaceful Divorce Project. Some would call that an oxymoron, but we're going to find out from Mr. Mulhall that it is not. John Unique's method begins with changing the attorney's approach. Notice it says attorney's approach to the divorce process, thus creating an environment for spouses to work cooperatively rather than antagonistically towards resolution. John, welcome to the show.
Thanks, Trish. Nice to be here.
Your method of thinking is very, very profound from where I sit regarding what's out there with your average divorce attorney. Tell me and tell our listeners, what is this project about and what are you about in terms of practicing?
The peaceful divorce model that we've developed is actually sort of a multidisciplinary process that's designed to assist families and couples in conflict. The model is actually based on the notion that cooperation between the spouses and their professionals and third parties and communication between all of those people can actually create a pathway to a more peaceful resolution of present disputes, and can also set the couple on a course where future disputes can similarly be handled in a peaceful manner.
So it sounds like in many ways it's a problem resolution model that you've sort of adapted to divorce. Is that a fair thing to say?
Yeah. In all 50 states, most divorce situations are handled through judicial process. The rules governing that process typically are modeled on adversarial litigation rules. It's very much like right. It's a lawsuit. If you want a divorce, for example, in Florida where I practice, you have to sue your spouse in order to achieve a final dissolution of the marriage. What the peaceful divorce model is designed to do is to recognize that the adversarial process is not, number one, user-friendly, recognize that it is an expensive process, it's inefficient in many ways, and what it actually does is it damages family relationships rather than trying to repair broken relationships and empower couples to solve their own problems. When my wife and I, who have been married for 25 years, have a disagreement regarding financial issues or our children, I don't get to call a cop. I don't have a lawyer on retainer to act as my mouthpiece. There's no third party that I can appeal to direct my wife's responses or actions, and the same with her. We have to resolve those issues within the confines of our own family, our own relationship. Certainly we'll entertain the services of third parties, financial advisors, maybe therapists. But for the most part, we are sort of self-educated in how to resolve disputes between us. A lot of couples who are going through marital breakdown also have that as their history. They have typically solved problems within the families between the two of them. Not always, but many times people will come with those tools. And the peaceful divorce model is really designed to have people utilize those skills that they've had when they entered into the relationship, as they were trying to build that relationship, as they were trying to raise their children without judicial intervention, without therapeutic supervision. Empowering them to not let go of abilities that they have and that they've exercised routinely throughout their lives in terms of moving disputed situations to resolution.
Well, I'm sorry, I hate to play devil's advocate with this because it sounds so good, but at what point do you tell your clients that this is the road you're going to take, or you would try to convince your client to take? Because I'm here to tell you, as somebody who is aware of the landscape of what's going on out there, what you hear is, well, I need a pit bull. I need a dog. Who can you refer to me that's a pit bull that can, bury my spouse 6 feet under? Tell me about that. How do you do that? Because that's magic from where I sit. So how do you do that?
Well, I always say the most dangerous time the most dangerous moment in an about to be divorced person's life is the minute that they first sit down with a lawyer to discuss what their options are. Most people come into those meetings really without a firm understanding for what is the most effective way to bring family disputes to resolution.
Well, and if I can even interrupt you there and add to that, most people go into those situations having predisposed or their own thinking, their own perception of what's going to unfold, which is completely not what actually occurs.
Well, that may be true. Let me say this. Again, most people who would come into my office haven't gone through a divorce before. Occasionally, certainly, there are people who've been down the road before. There's some people who have extensive histories in divorce. But most people who come in for that first consultation haven't gone through the process before. They've seen others go through it. They see things on TV. They've read perhaps articles and books. They may have girded themselves for what to expect, and many times I think that they understand that they need to expect the worst, but almost uniformly they hope for the best. Rarely do I have a client who doesn't say, I'd really like to see this resolved amicably. Most people, that is their sentiment. Few people, if given a menu of ways to resolve their family problems, would select combat as opposed to communication and resolution.
Really?
And, well, there's some people who come in who are angry, who want their own, but their perception is that they need to be combative in order to make headway. Their desire, their dream would be not to have to engage in that kind of conduct with their spouse. But they, again, based upon things that they've seen or heard before they come into the lawyer's office, believe that that's the approach they need to take in order to be successful. What we offer through the peaceful divorce process is the benefit of years and years of experience helping hundreds, if not thousands, of families move their matters to resolution. And I think that good family lawyers and other divorce professionals know that families do much better when they are empowered to resolve their own disputes and not leave it to a third party to make decisions regarding finances, children, or just their own conduct. When a lawyer advises a client on, again, the sort of the default process, which is litigation, the notion that you have to sue your client, that sets a certain tone.
Going to court for the average person, the lay person listening out there, that definition of litigation is going to court.
Going to court.
I'm going to talk to a judge. Let's tell it to the judge.
And good family lawyers, try to educate their clients from the get-go that going to court is not going in and telling your story. It's not being able to lay out all of the information. Most trials are highly scripted. Good lawyers know what is going to develop during a course of a trial before you go in. And it's not just you going up and saying your piece. Other people will have their input as well. And you'll sit in the courtroom and you will hear your family described or your finances described or your businesses described in ways that you don't even recognize, because it's all part of the theater and part of the show. When we go to a mediation, you can't engage in theater and show. It's really getting right down to what are the issues, what remains to be resolved, and what the parties can do to get it resolved. So the first part of the consultation is educating people not to glamorize the judicial process. It's very hard to be a litigant. Ask anybody who's gone through it. It's very time-consuming. It's very expensive. It's not empowering. In fact, it's probably the ultimate surrender, because you're leaving it to somebody else to resolve.
Let's talk about that for a second. We have only a couple of minutes before we go to our first break, but what I'd like to break down are the three things that you just said. Very time-consuming, very expensive, and what was the third?
The third, I would say, is very stressful, and it's ineffective.
Okay. Ineffective. That's what you said. Thank you very much for saving me on that one. But it's time-consuming, expensive, ineffective. I really want the listeners to hear that message, because I am in complete agreement with you. And if we can move past those three areas that I believe are downfalls in our judicial system as it pertains to family law in particular, I think that you will do a great service to the listeners. I think you will do a great service. But it is time to take a break. This is Trish Forante, and my guest today is John Mulhall, attorney and co-founder of the Peaceful Divorce Project. You are listening to Talk Time with Trish on Voice America Health and Wellness Channel. Please stay tuned.
Better communication means better relationships in every sense of the word. When you communicate more effectively and interact more effectively, your life is lived more effectively. Tune in to Talk Time with Trish, featuring host Trish Forante and co-host Lisa Stewart. Our program is all about the human element. We are all comprised of parts and stuff that we may be aware of or others may be aware of. When we become aware of what others are aware of, it means more to us. Tune in every Friday at noon Eastern Time, 9 a.m. Pacific on Voice America Health and Wellness.